your moderator today. My name is Kate Jones. I'll do a quick introduction and then we can get started. If you want to tweet a question to us, our hashtag is NerdVale. You okay?
There's some seated chair.
We're just waiting for another chair. If you have a chair,
if you could just toss a chair out.
could you? Yeah.
Toss a chair.
Yeah. Almost there. So the hashtag is NerdVale. So if you have a question, go ahead and tweet that to us. Meg has kindly lent me her phone, and now I know her password.
Oh, pizza.
I know.
Everyone knows.
It's good. It's a good password. So I'll be watching that. So I'll do a quick introduction. My name is Kate Jones. I play Michelle Nguyen on the podcast. Next to me we have Joseph Fink, one of the co-creators. Jeffrey Craner, another co-creator. Dylan Marin, the voice of Carlos the Scientist. Cecil Baldwin, the voice of Cecil Palmer. Meg Bashwinner, the proverb lady, the MC of the live show, and Deb. Kevin R. Free, the voice of Kevin. Desiree Birch, the voice of Pamela Winchell. And Mara Wilson, the voice of the faceless old woman who secretly lives in your home. Okay, so the first question was, how did we all get involved in Welcome to Night Vale? How do we all know each other?
I guess I'll start because I started. I got involved in Night Vale partly because I was looking for something to do with the talented people I knew, and that's them. I moved to New York almost exactly 7 years ago, and I didn't know anyone, and I had never really been to New York, and then I came into contact with this theater company, the New York Neo-Futurists, that almost everyone sitting at this table is a member of, except for me and Mara, I believe. Yep. Kind of everyone, I started to get a circle of really amazingly talented people. And then years passed and various things in life. And then I was looking for a new project, and I tried writing this weird podcast that could involve the talents of the people I knew. The end.
Joseph sent me the podcast, the very first pilot episode. We had written a play together in 2011, and we loved podcasts, and he had told me that he wanted to start one, but he didn't know what that would be. And then I said, that's cool. And then a few months later, he emailed me the pilot episode as it exists now on iTunes. And he had given a script and a microphone to Cecil to record it. And he got John Bernstein, Disparition, permission to use some great music. And he put it together and said, I don't know, this is kind of what I had in mind. What do you think? You want to work on this? And I said, sure. And that was an easy question to answer.
I got involved from knowing these amazing people from the New York Neo-Futurists, and I was not cast until Night Vale was already a thing, and it was a thing that I was listening to and in awe that my friends were doing this cool thing. And it wasn't until October of 2013 that I got an email from Jeffrey asking me if I would like to play the role of Carlos. I was totally honored. It was actually, I had just gotten my new phone and I was at the Apple Store programming it, and the first email to come in was Jeffrey's email asking me to be Carlos. So it's and now I am the role of Carlos. That's how we have in the end. Here we are.
I think these guys kind of covered it. Joseph asked me if I wanted to read this pilot script, and I said absolutely, because it was filled with lots of stuff that I really love and I appreciate. And then we just kept making it from there.
I muscled my way in. Yeah, Joseph asked me to read the credits because Cecil has such a beautiful, rich voice that Joseph didn't want to go and talk after that. And so he said he wanted something different texturally, so he wanted a lady voice, and I happened to be the lady that was living in his apartment, so go with what you got.
That's muscle right there.
Yeah.
I got an email from Jeffrey. I had listened to the podcast some. I didn't know what a podcast was. Jeffrey Craner had given me a list of things to listen to, so I started listening to them, and then I listened to Night Vale, and then I got an email from Jeffrey saying, we want you to play the role of Kevin, and I was like, oh my god, that's easy. And you explained that it was a double episode, and that I was his double, and I was like, okay, great. So anyway, so that's how. Jeffrey Jessup.
Yes, I got the Jeffrey email that officially makes you part of the Night Vale world.
Never gotten that email.
You two can wait for the Jeffrey email.
But I also moved to another continent to be part of the show. I actually moved to another continent and then I was part of the show. But it was a convenient happenstance that when they were touring the UK and Europe, I happened to have just moved there. And so it was this little bit of kismet that, when I got the email and, had heard the podcast and all of that great stuff and had enjoyed the writing and the, mysterious world that it was. And then I got my part and I was just like, oh, this is the best thing. She's the best. She's crazy. I love it. This is perfect. Thank you.
I didn't know that I knew people in common with them. I just found this amazing account on Twitter, and being the Twitter fairy godmother that I am, retweeted them a lot because I thought they were hilarious and they were exactly my sense of humor. And then, I'm not sure how, but I put it together that they worked with the New York Neo-Futurists, which is one of my favorite theater groups in New York, if not my favorite. And I knew a bunch of people who worked there, people I'd gone to college with, people I'd worked on shows with. So it was this sort of meeting of two worlds that was really cool. And I think I said to Joseph and Jeffrey, I said, listen guys, I love doing voiceover. And, maybe I could play the mayor or something if you're experimenting with other voices, Pamela Winchell or someone. And they said, we want you to be the faceless old woman who secretly lives in your home. And I said, oh, even better.
I got a Joseph Fink email shortly after the Edinburgh Fringe Festival where Joseph sat in the second row and watched a performance of a play I've written called Tet Offensive. Which you could see tonight if you wanted to play Michelle Nguyen. But I also live in London, not with Desiree, near Desiree. So I also get the pleasure of touring on the UK shows. I think that's about it.
I mean, it wasn't specifically Tet Offensive that led to you being cast.
Okay.
Listen, you can believe what you believe.
We met at the audition for the New York Neo-Futurists outside waiting to go in. And then I fangirled on Joseph afterwards because I was like, I really like your writing. And then we became friends and played Rock Band loads.
Yeah.
Cool. The next question is for Meg, and it is, what is your secret to being so funny?
What is my secret to being so funny? I think being funny is a lot of things, and I find a lot of things funny, so I think that is a good way to be funny, is to find humor everywhere. I think that to be funny you have to be honest and you have to be truthful. I think that touching on that is the best way to go. And I think that my style of comedy is that I try to relate to people and bring people up, as opposed to isolating people and bringing them down. So I think things are more funny when they're inclusive and not trying to exclude someone. I think it's good when it is us against the world and not us against you. And then like poop stuff, like that's great.
What is the funniest, craziest, coolest fan encounter you've had while being on tour this year?
Oh, it has to be this year?
It says this year.
I actually, a fan reached out to me from London, having saw the show last fall when we were there, and he's a photography retoucher, and he works on like fashion campaigns and things like that, but he kind of wants to get into being a photographer himself. And just randomly he said, I love the show and I would love to shoot, you know, if you're in London, I would love to shoot you, and, you know, it would help me build up a portfolio. There's multiple meanings of that word, you all know that, right? And so I came to his studio and, you know, we did like a photo session. It was like a really fun, it was just like something very different that I'd never really done before, this sort of like kind of fashion photography sort of vibe. But it was just a lot of fun, and he was a fan who turned out to be really amazing. And, you know, later that week I like met him and his husband. We went out to see the circus, and, you know, just like I made a new friend from a fan via Twitter. And it was just, I don't know, that was really surprising and refreshing for me.
Those photos were dead sexy, by the way.
Yeah.
Thanks.
There was a couple, when we started our tour this fall in the UK, there was a couple that saw us after the show in Glasgow, Scotland, and they were fully decked out in their homemade Eternal Scout outfits, and they were really amazing. They had actually made their own patches, and they had things like just all these really destructive things like embezzlement and arson and insurance fraud, and just all kinds of really amazing stuff. And we were talking to them, and they said, oh, we came a long way today. We're also going to the Edinburgh show because it's as long as we came this far. And I said, well, where did you come from? And they said, the Shetland Islands. And my first response was like the ponies. When I Googled that later, the Shetland Islands are basically Norway, if you've ever checked that out. And they had to take, I think it was like a 2.5-hour boat ride, and then take another like hour-and-a-half bus ride just to get to Glasgow. So they were really amazing. It was a really exciting way to start the tour.
That same tour in London, I was talking to a woman who told me that she had flown from Singapore to London to see the show.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah, I mean, but I'm sure you're doing other things in London. She's like, no, I flew in this morning, I fly out tomorrow morning. Listen, if you fly that far, I don't know, see Big Ben. It's cool, it's a clock.
We should go to Singapore to say thank you.
Oh my God, yeah.
Singapore 2016.
Would love to do that.
Let's do it.
Oh, so it's super exciting.
We stay with you.
That's right.
We know we've sold 2 tickets in Singapore.
No, I think that was one person saying yes twice.
Okay.
I wasn't on tour when this happened, but you were on tour when this happened to me. But they were on tour. What? I was doing a show at Actors Theatre Louisville, and I was brilliant in this play. And they have this thing called College Days. There were so many college students who come down to the Humana Festival to meet actors and to see the plays that are happening at the Humana Festival. And one of these days, we all have to mill about with the students from the colleges. And I was surrounded by college students. And I, of course, assumed it was because they were just so moved by my performance in Dot. And midway through the third question, one of them said, so, long pause, tell us about Welcome to Night Vale. And I was surrounded by like 10 people, and I was like, this is why you're talking to me. Now I get it. Now I understand. That was fun though.
Yeah, I was similarly, and I was in Edinburgh this summer, and they were like shooting some like episode thing where they were getting performers from the festival to like play stupid games and talk about stuff, and they were just like capturing weird things, and they did it they started shooting at 2 a.m. partially because that's when everybody's free of doing shows, and partially because they wanted that sort of like raw, edgy feel to things. And there were a bunch of like extras that had come in. It was like the setup of like a sort of a diner, and you're sitting there, and there are different things in the menu that you're doing, and they have these people sitting up at the bar. And then at 4:30 in the morning when it wrapped, and we were all like, what just happened? You know, and completely loopy. This woman who had been sitting there for like a good 3 hours, just like as I'm walking away with my stuff, she's like, are you Pamela Winchell? And I was like, whoa. She was like, I heard your voice and I immediately knew it was you. And I sat here for 2 hours like just going like, oh my God, it's really her or whatever. And it was just such a great thing because I was in the middle of doing my own thing and just, so, you know, I mean, especially with your voice, it's such an intimate thing that someone heard it and just like heard all of you in it. It was really cool and surprising.
I think I always love seeing faceless old women. There's one in the crowd, and I'm happy for that. And I love hearing that people would vote for her, which seemed to happen disproportionately in Canada and in the Midwest U.S. So thanks, guys.
It's your people.
But I think my favorite cosplay was the one at New York Comic Con last year. It's technically this year still, it's happening now. And they were two people, they were two hooded figures in the dog park. And they were two hooded figures and so it was two people together all day. And they had a piece of fence in front of themselves with rules on it, and they had to, we were like, I think we were all wondering, like, how do they go to the bathroom? But it was a lot of effort, and I commend them for it.
I just last week, 2 weeks ago, sometime. What is time? Yeah, right. I spoke at a college in Pennsylvania. And one of the people in the host committee that was hosting me said that they really wanted me to meet their roommate. And so I went outside, and there was this woman, and she was Latina, and she was a scientist. We were in a science lab. And she started crying and thanking me for playing a Latino scientist because she had never really seen herself represented in that way. And she truly was like in the middle of doing a lab, like real, true science. And I just want to say there's like a real Carlos the scientist, and she is somewhere in a college in Pennsylvania. So.
A line, you call it here, sorry. I was in a line getting coffee earlier and I heard someone say, what is this conference? And someone said, it's storytelling. Who's here? Oh, welcome to Night Vale. And then this woman in a suit shuddered and got really excited. And so I just said, hi, I'm Kate, I'm in that podcast. And she said, hello, I'm the mayor of Minneapolis.
Kate got her card. It
She said if we wanted...
legitimately says Betty Hodges, mayor.
She was super cool. Okay, so we have a question. We have a question about the format. So there's kind of two parts to it that have come in. One is the biggest challenge to telling a story in an audio-only format, and then do you feel the audio format of the podcast helps reach diverse audiences?
Start with that first one, maybe. Yeah. I was going to say I was going to say that I don't know that there's, I don't know what the challenges are. I mean, that you learn, especially like with the neo-futurists, but I think in any way of making art, you learn to take the limitations you have. Once you understand the limitations you have, whether it's money, or whether it's resources, or whether it's time, or whether it's just the constraint of the format you're in. Like, we don't have a visual element. It is a podcast that is mostly listened to digitally and alone. And so you just have to understand those limitations. So the challenge is really just internal. It really is just recognizing what you understand you cannot do, and where you can push that a little bit harder and do something new, and then where you say, no, I just need to pull it back and stay within this area and then push over here. I mean, that's really just understanding where your boundaries are, I think, is the challenge. But it's also what makes every art form great, because a painting can't move, which is what makes a painting so wonderful, because we understand the format and the process and the limitations of the painting. Yeah, I think art actually becomes more difficult the less limitations there are. Because if it's possible to do everything, then your first task is actually just to impose limitations on yourself and limit it down. And so when you already have those limitations, that's actually some work that you don't have to do, because they're already there and you just work with them within them.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it's learning to push yourself in different directions based on, when you're doing an ongoing, episodic script. It's like looking at every episode and trying to find something new in that script and finding a new way to, highlight the characters and the plot and the language and all that. And I mean, that's the challenge, but also that's what makes it interesting and fun and exciting is, and I hope that's why you all tune in from week to week is to be like, oh, how are they going to take 25 to 30 minutes and do something different that they, that's never happened before. But I mean, it is kind of daunting where, you get a new script and you're like, okay, this is going to be it. We're going to make this the good one. This is going to be great. And then, kind of racking your brain is to try and find new and exciting ways to do that. It's fun though.
We have a question for the ladies. What advice would you give to female artists, actors, and writers?
Okay. This is for the ladies, but also for everyone. Advice I would give is just that women in the arts need to support each other. We need to be bringing each other up, not taking each other down. I want everyone at this table to be funnier than me, to be a better actor than me, to be more popular than me, because it raises the bar. It's not a competition unless you make it a competition. So I think advice is just to support your fellow artists and especially support your fellow underrepresented artists. Really, if you are in a position of power where you get to say yes to someone, say yes to the underdog. That's what I say.
And I would add to that if you can find other women and other represented communities and of people that you feel an attachment to and you can relate to, have female friends, because you will be able to commiserate with them and they will be able to understand, and have people that you can understand and you can relate to have that group, because they will encourage you and inspire you and keep you going and support you.
Yeah, I guess I would say, in the spirit of taking the risk on the underdog, also kind of take the risk on yourself as well. Be distinctive. I think a lot of times, as humans and as any kind of artist, and especially as women, I think there is a tendency to try to fix yourself as opposed to trying to be yourself, trying to find the thing that makes you totally different off, because that's the thing that makes you wonderful and interesting and makes you necessary. So, rather than trying to shave that away or trying to covet, what you don't have and what you're trying to get, try to get deeper into what it is that you have and, find that specificity in what you do, because then you will be indelible, then you will be, it's like we need that thing and you are the only person who has it, we have to come to you.
She does give excellent advice. She also told me, dig deep. That's one thing that you gave me. That was really good. My advice is don't stop creating. A lot of times life gets in the way and you'll have new challenges and new obligations that you'll have to take care of, but don't ever stop. I left the Neo-Futurists and I had a hard time when I first lived in London because I felt like I didn't have an outlet, and then with Dez's help, I started picking up stand-up because it's a way to continue to tell my story and to continue to create. So whatever it is that you think is getting in the way, pick a new way to tell your story. There's loads of ways.
As tautological as it may sound, only you can create what you can create.
Here's one that's for kind of all of us. It says, it's from Savannah, who's in the house tonight. Do you see yourself in your characters? If you were to tell them something, what would it be?
What?
If you were to tell them something, what would it be?
Our
Characters.
Gosh,
Do we see ourselves in our
I do see the sentient patch-of-faced Deb in my life every day. I do, because I think that she is an ultimate performer, because she's all persona, but she doesn't. Other than that, there's nothing else there. She is just persona, and then she is on her own mission. So, if I could tell her anything, it would just keep going, girl. Do it. It's great.
I see myself in Kevin. I like to smile. very smiley. And I would probably just tell him to keep smiling. Really high.
So as far as Pamela is concerned, I relate to her in the fact that she is completely, like, she's exasperated all the time by why people don't understand the reality that only exists in her head. And it's just like completely impatient with that, and like totally get that. And like a thing that I wish I could do more was to, like, you know, she also has the status of, you know, her former position and her power to just be able to be completely like, you know, like, well, I'm right and you guys just need to get there, and never doubts herself or anything that she's thinking about, or her right to speak like anything that comes to her mind, or go like, I don't know, I forgot, like, what are you still looking at me for, you know? And I love that. It's like the kind of thing that I used to envy about like popular girls who, like, where you're just kind of like, you just don't have to give a crap, and it must be great to like walk through life and just be like, mine, oh, you're all listening to me, that's correct, great, you know. And I totally, I like love playing her because I like want to do that in my life just a little bit more.
I don't think I'm as creepy, but I am nosy as hell. They've been on tour with me. They know it's the truth. I'm nosy as hell. Sometimes I think like, oh, maybe I should be a little less nosy and a little less judgmental, a little less, you know, the bad sides of Faceless Old Woman. But I also admire her unflappable nature. I mean, that has to do with her, you know, facing the void every day and, you know, living at a different time and place and dimension than we do. But yeah, I admire that about her. I admire that about her. Sometimes I think like she should relax, but I'm like, oh, that's rich coming from me. So, you know, who has a show about anxiety, so I'm not so sure that she would really, I don't think she's the kind of person to take advice. I think that she is what she is, and she likes what she is.
Yeah, I definitely see myself in Cecil. I think I love to hear the sound of my own voice. Just talk, and yeah, that sounds great. But no, I think differences are, I think Cecil, the character, could use some grounding. Like, sometimes I just want to take this poor man by the shoulders and be like, it'll be okay. You don't have to, like, freak out over everything. You know, you don't have to, like, throw yourself over the train tracks over everything. Just chill out a little bit, you know. That's it. Yeah, I think those are the differences between me and my character.
Yeah, I definitely see myself in Carlos. I think Carlos is really earnest, and I don't know that Carlos has ever told a lie in his life. I feel like Carlos really describes every single thing he's feeling and doing very honestly and upfront and without anything attached to that. And I just hope it doesn't get him into trouble. but yeah, you know, just want Carlos to keep doing his thing.
May I say that I kind of believe that Carlos has told lies in his actions? With something? Damn.
It's getting messy up here.
We're going there, guys.
Thanks for coming, y'all.
Yeah. Here we are. All right. Defriended.
That is the meanest thing Dylan Marin has ever said in his life, by the way.
I see a lot of myself in the character of Joseph. Very similar people.